The film opens with a car being chased by a helicopter. The man drives into the woods and drops off a little boy named Daryl in the middle of the woods. He then tries to deceive the helicopter and takes sharp turns. He certainly knows there is no way he's going to escape from the chaser, so he rides his car off the cliff and crashes. Daryl, on the other hand, is found by an old couple that takes him into their hometown. They are nice enough to send Daryl to a welfare where he is entirely examined for any injury, but he comes out completely unharmed. The owner of the welfare, Howie, takes Daryl to a room to inform him that he's going to keep him in his facility for a few days and will put a word out so that his real parents can come to get him. The doctor shows up and tells Howie that Daryl is suffering from partial memory loss. He may have experienced some sort of tragedy that has led him not to remember his parents and surroundings. The doctor further adds that he's also a genius, where even the trauma couldn't erase his intellect. Howie gets an idea and visits his neighbor, as well as a good friend named Andy. He informs Andy of a young boy named Daryl who's been mysteriously found in the woods. Subsequently, Andy goes home to his lovely wife Joyce, who is giving a girl piano lessons. He tells Joyce that Howie has brought to his attention a young boy whom they might like to take in as a foster. He warns Joyce about the memory loss incident, but that doesn't change her mind and she becomes excited to have Daryl at their place. The next day, Daryl is handed over to Andy and Joyce, who show him around. That day, Howie's son, Turtle, shows up to Joyce and asks her about Daryl. He soon gets jealous of Daryl because his father cannot stop talking about how intelligent and decent he is. Knowing that Turtle is a naughty boy, Joyce bribes him with a spoonful of cake batter and requests Turtle not to discuss his memory loss with him. The curious Turtle meets Daryl and immediately goes to ask him about his memory loss and tries to end his curiosity. Upon not getting the answer he's expecting, he takes Daryl to his home, where he introduces him to his sister Sherry. They begin playing games on her computer, and Daryl easily beats the high scores and grabs both siblings' attention. On his first day at school, he surprises his math teacher by checking Turtle's test without using a calculator. The math teacher gets jealous but doesn't say anything. At home, Andy tries to teach Daryl alongside Turtle baseball and hopes he can add him to his team. Daryl doesn't miss a single shot and impresses him. Andy becomes super excited to have Daryl on his team. He asks Turtle to keep it a secret that they have a good player on the team because he wants to take the rival coach down by surprise. Man, Turtle sure has to keep many secrets. That day, Howie and his wife come for a tea party at Andy and Joyce's place. Joyce asks Howie about Daryl and wonders if something is wrong because she has never seen such an organized and excelled kid in her entire life. Howie's wife mocks Joyce for complaining about Daryl, even after him being the dream son everyone wishes for. The next day, Andy takes Daryl out for some grocery shopping. He uses his card in the ATM machine to take out a $100 bill, but the machine projects his balance is insufficient. He becomes disappointed and claims to have more than $1,500 in his bank. He thinks the machine is faulty, but Daryl takes charge and dials some numbers that get him a $100 bill within a second. This comes to Andy as a great surprise and couldn't be more proud. While Andy gets back into his car, Daryl runs some code that multiply his bank balance from 4 digits to 7 digits. Where can I find a son like that? The scene now cuts to the kids' baseball match, where Andy shakes hands with the rival coach, who thinks Andy and his kids are going to lose again. Turtle comes to Andy and informs him about their soda being missing. He makes Turtle go to his home and get some soda before the game starts. There, Turtle overhears Joyce talking to his mother about Daryl. Joyce complains that Daryl is an all-rounder. He's so good at housekeeping that she feels Daryl is a better mother than she is. During this time, Daryl opens the match and makes some great scores. Joyce and Turtle's family also show up to support their kids. Turtle meets with Daryl during the break and tells Daryl everything he heard. He advises Daryl to screw up sometimes so that Joyce can give him lessons and not question her motherhood. However, Daryl takes it the wrong way and screws up the baseball game instead. He misses his shots and gets declared out of the game. Turtle yells at him for screwing up the game. Andy also shows up to ask what has happened to him all of a sudden, but Daryl acts mean. He says he hates the game and tells him that he is just using him to win against his rival. Joyce, who is standing by Andy's side, hears Daryl misbehave for the first time and becomes very happy, whereas Andy is surprised to see a shift in D.A.R.Y.L. Joyce goes after D.A.R.Y.L and teaches him not to misbehave with elders and feels satisfied to see D.A.R.Y.L make mistakes like any other normal child. In the end, Turtle saves the day and makes a run to make his team win for the first time. Looks like Turtle isn't that naughty after all. The next day, Joyce tries to teach D.A.R.Y.L piano, but he points out some errors and corrects them himself. A few moments later, Joyce and Andy are called in by Howie's welfare, where they are informed that D.A.R.Y.L's actual parents have been located and that they will be coming to take him from their foster home. Joyce and Andy find it hard to believe, but the woman assures them that the parents are D.A.R.Y.L's biological parents because they have sent pictorial proof. That night, Andy tries to have the hard talk with D.A.R.Y.L, but stutters and has trouble delivering the news. However, D.A.R.Y.L is a smart boy, and he understands him and tells them that he wants to stay with Andy and Joyce. Andy teaches him the value of parents and says that children belong to their parents, not in foster homes. The next day, an old couple shows up to Andy and Joyce in a luxury car. Andy offers them some beverages, but they deny, as if they're in some sort of hurry. They politely insist on handing them over their boy so they can get back to their respective lives. Joyce, with teary eyes, brings D.A.R.Y.L downstairs. The parents want to take their son home fast, but D.A.R.Y.L insists on meeting Turtle for the last time. However, Turtle is seen having trouble gathering the courage to say goodbye to D.A.R.Y.L because he doesn't want him gone. His mother encourages him to get up and takes Turtle to Joyce's home to see D.A.R.Y.L, but Turtle starts shedding tears and runs away instead. The couple then takes D.A.R.Y.L away. They then hop onto a private jet, which is astonishing for D.A.R.Y.L. He goes to the pilots and learns how to fly a plane and navigate it. Meanwhile, the new parents, who refers to D.A.R.Y.L as it, and are surprised to see D.A.R.Y.L with new learning abilities. D.A.R.Y.L goes up to the parents and asks if they are his real parents. The scene then cuts to a modified science lab where Dr. Stewart and Dr. Ellen, the couple who claim to be D.A.R.Y.L's parent, are conducting a full body analysis on the unconscious boy. They scan his brain and find out that a doctor who tried to free D.A.R.Y.L from the labs implanted a chip inside his mind so that D.A.R.Y.L could understand what he was. But unfortunately, the chip malfunctioned and caused a memory loss instead. The fake couple scientists then see a drastic change in D.A.R.Y.L's behavior. He has adopted a sense of taste for which he was never programmed for. They also go through his memory archives and find out that he learned the art of not always functioning perfectly through a boy named Turtle. Dr. Stewart asks him several questions and is left shocked by the new D.A.R.Y.L, who has developed so much. He becomes happy and decides to celebrate the success of D.A.R.Y.L's retrieval with all the high-profile army generals that funded his project. However, the generals are not satisfied to hear about these changes in D.A.R.Y.L. They wanted a fearless killing machine that could run their operation, not a boy who now tastes things and feels pleasures or pain. The generals command Stewart to terminate the mission, or else they'll pull back their funding. With no choice, Stewart goes to D.A.R.Y.L to talk to him for the last time, who has now become attached to him. D.A.R.Y.L then requests to see his foster parents and Turtle so he can tell them the truth of what he really is. Dr. Stewart agrees to it and arranges a meetup despite Dr. Ellen's denial. He gets Joyce, Andy, and Turtle over his facility with full protocol and takes them to a computer room where he shows them a locker-sized machine labeled as D.A.R.Y.L. Everyone is confused, but Stewart tells them the truth that D.A.R.Y.L stands for Data Analyzing Robot Youth Lifeform. They find it impossible to believe, but the doctor tells them that his computer is directly linked to D.A.R.Y.L's mind and requests for them to try asking something that D.A.R.Y.L would only know. With everyone still in shock, no one asks anything, so the doctor goes to tell D.A.R.Y.L that Turtle is here to see him through the computer. D.A.R.Y.L's mind responds with a hi and asks a personal question, which has Turtle convinced that D.A.R.Y.L is really a robot. Turtle then manages to slip away and finds D.A.R.Y.L inside a sealed room. Dr. Stewart soon takes the foster parents to meet D.A.R.Y.L, and everyone shares an emotional hug with him. On their way out, Dr. Stewart requests them to take matters to the press if they don't hear from him within 5 days, and promises to hand D.A.R.Y.L back secretly. Subsequently, the army general shows up with his soldiers and confronts Dr. Stewart and Ellen for hiding secrets from from him. He immediately asks them to terminate D.A.R.Y.L since the world cannot know about their secret missions. Since Dr. Stewart has gone soft, the general tasks Ellen with the termination. However, deep down, Ellen has also softened. Both doctors pretend to have terminated D.A.R.Y.L in an operation ward, and the mad Stewart leaves the facility. The general and his soldiers go to check for D.A.R.Y.L's termination on every computer. The general then finds D.A.R.Y.L's last thought in one of the computers that was still connected to D.A.R.Y.L's memory archive. He becomes mad and orders his army to stop the old man, but he was already long gone by then. He alerts the entire town's police to catch Stewart and orders them to take him out. D.A.R.Y.L finally comes out of the back seat that Stewart had hit him. The police soon catch up to Stewart's car and surround it, but D.A.R.Y.L instructs the doctor and asks him to trust him. D.A.R.Y.L then takes the wheel and does some stunts that leave the cops awestruck. The two finally get out of town and stop by a small countryside house where they steal a truck. Midway, they realize that there is a checkpoint with a police car waiting for them. They come up with a plan and manage to pass the checkpoint, but they soon get found out. Stewart keeps driving on the next checkpoint, but gets wounded by the officer in front. They barely escape, but Stewart soon passes away, saying some final words to D.A.R.Y.L. D.A.R.Y.L decides to infiltrate the facility by turning on the fake fire alarms in different sectors to divert security. While everyone leaves with the fire truck to take care of the fire, D.A.R.Y.L takes over a military jet and flies away. Back at the facility, the general reveals that he has a self-destruct button that can destroy the jet from anywhere in the world. He orders D.A.R.Y.L to surrender himself or he will blow the jet up in 6.5 minutes. Upon learning this, D.A.R.Y.L changes the transmitter's frequency and connects himself with Turtle's walkie-talkie. He asks him to meet him by the Blue Lake immediately. Turtle and his sister get on their bikes and arrive at the lake. As the final countdown happens, the jet explodes and D.A.R.Y.L quickly ejects the seat and saves himself with a parachute. He falls into the lake and soon gets engulfed by the water. Turtle sees his parachute and swims his way to save D.A.R.Y.L from drowning. Both siblings quickly take D.A.R.Y.L to the hospital, but it's too late and he is pronounced unalive. Everyone soon arrives at the hospital and they go home and mourn D.A.R.Y.L's passing, but somehow Turtle has faith that D.A.R.Y.L is still alive, as he believes a robot cannot pass since they have computerized brains. This turns out to be true when D.A.R.Y.L is found by Dr. Ellen. She gets him back on track and sends him to find his foster home. D.A.R.Y.L gets back to his foster family and shares big hugs with everyone. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss our next video.